Good morning, PawPrint class. This is Miss McGuire. I sure have been missing you guys. The other day, I went up to our school and they gave me a little bit of time so that I could go into our classroom and get a few things, and I brought them home, and I have tried to turn our garage into our classroom. So I'm going to show you a few things, see if you can recognize a few things from our classroom. There's our flag. There's a couple of our charts that we have. Let's see, over here on this side, there's our numbers. So I even brought the globe. Let's see, oh, there's my flowers from one of my special friends. And so the globe. So we've got some of our things from our classroom. We're going to try and do our very best over the next couple of weeks to keep on learning and be in touch with each other. So I want us to go ahead and do what we usually do at school. So let's start off our day by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you want to stand, I'll say it. I'm going to turn this so that you can see the flag. And I'm going to stand up, put my right hand over my heart, and let's say the pledge together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you so much for doing that. And if your brothers or sisters want to say the things, pledge with you, that's fine. Do it all together. You know, and then we always have a poem. And this morning when I was up early, it was still dark outside, I heard my bird friends in the backyard, my robins. And so I thought I would read to you this poem. I'm going to show it to you. See, there's the poem, there's the robin. And this poem is called Wise Johnny. Little Johnny Jump Up said, "It must be spring. I just saw a ladybug and heard a robin sing." So I heard my robin singing. In fact, with all the rain that we got yesterday, our bird bath is full of water. So I'm sure this afternoon my robins are going to enjoy spending some time splashing around in the bird bath. Usually we always start off with Bible, and that's what I want us to do today. And so I brought to show you something that you might have yourself. How many of you have some kind of a bank, a piggy bank? This is Will's. There's his name on it. When he was a little boy, somebody gave that to him, and so we keep that and add to it. Maybe if you do some chores at the house or get an allowance or some special birthday money, you put it in your bank. But I wanted to show that bank to you because we're going to be talking about one of Jesus's disciples. This week we're going to be learning about some of his disciples. A disciple was a learner. Jesus was a teacher. They called him rabbi. That's the Hebrew word for teacher. And the disciples would travel with Jesus. You know, when we were at school, we talked about how Jesus had grown up. He went to the temple with his parents, and then he got baptized by his cousin, John the Baptist, down at the river. Do you remember what river it was? It starts with the letter J. Jordan, down by the Jordan River. And then when he came up out of the water, what does the Bible say? A beautiful dove came and sat on his shoulder, and then the people heard God speak, and God said, "This is my son, in whom I am well pleased." So Jesus is about ready to start his ministry. He's going to go from town to town and go into the churches and preach and teach about God. And he's also going to do some miracles, and we're going to talk about some of those. But he needed some helpers, people that, some men that would learn from him and help him while he does his ministry. And so he chose 12 of them. And we're not going to learn about all 12, but we're going to learn about some of them. And one that we're going to learn about today was a man named Matthew. And Matthew was a tax collector. And tax collectors didn't have very many friends because they weren't always very honest. Sometimes they cheated the people. And so Matthew was one of those. He would have a little book. I'm going to get one of mine. And he would look up, and you would go to the tax collector's office, and he would look in his book, and he would tell you how many coins you owed, how much taxes you owed. And so I'm looking at my little book, and I see that some of the boys in my class, Mr. Gabe, Mr. Ford, Mr. Brady, it looks like you all owe 3 coins each. But you know what? That's not what Matthew would do. He would say, you gentlemen, you 3, you owe 5 coins. But the book only said 3. So I'm going to show you what happened. Let me get some coins. These are just pennies. And so those of you that owed him money, you would give him 5 coins. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, you would pay him 5. He would put the 3 pennies, the 3 pennies or coins in the tax box. But what about those extra 2? Do you remember whenever we did some number problems? Let's see if we can do one now in Bible time. We had 3 plus 2 equals 5. All right, so what did happen to those extra 2? The 3 went in the taxes, and this is what happened to the extra 2. Right in to Matthew's bank. He kept the extra. Well, that didn't make very many people happy. And so that's why I said he didn't have very many friends, I don't think, because everybody knew tax collectors kind of cheated people out of their money. So it was kind of, he was kind of lonely. But, you know, things changed for Matthew one day when somebody very special came to his town. And I bet you can guess who it was. That's right, it was Jesus. And Jesus came walking by, and Matthew was sitting in his little tax office. And Jesus looked at Matthew and he said, Matthew, follow me. And Matthew did. He closed the door and shut up his tax collector's office, and he left and he followed Jesus. And he was a disciple the rest of his life. And I'll tell you what, not only did Matthew be Jesus, he was one of his helpers, one of his disciples. Not only did he learn from Jesus, but he also wrote a lot of things down. And you remember that we've learned that the Bible has 2 parts. The Old Testament, that's before Jesus was born, and then the New Testament. And what's so exciting to me is all those things that Matthew wrote down, they got put in the Bible. And the very first book in the New Testament, I'm going to show to you, is the Gospel according to Matthew. That's the same Matthew that we just got done talking about. That old tax collector, his heart changed. He asked Jesus to forgive him, and God changed his life. And now, thanks to him, we can read all about Jesus and some of the great things he did in the book that Matthew wrote in the New Testament. So I think that's pretty neat. I want us to kind of change what we're talking about, and let's review some of the things that we learned about with the silent E. Let's talk about phonics a little bit. We called it the silent E. Some teachers, they call it the bossy E, because if you're bossy, you kind of tell people what to do, and the silent E does that. The silent E bosses the vowel around, doesn't it? And says, you're not going to say your short sound anymore, you're going to say your long sound. And if I had to be honest and tell you a secret, I could tell you that when I was a little girl, I think I was kind of bossy. I'm the oldest. I have 2 younger brothers. One's named Tom and one's named Eric, and they were younger than me. And I was the oldest, and I was kind of bossy to them. I think if you would ask them and talk to them, they would tell you that they had a bossy big sister. But I'm not bossy anymore. So that's what we want to talk about today. Just go back and review and practice the silent E and the bossy E. So let me erase. All right, let's look up here. I'm going to change so that you can see the words. These are some words that have the short A, the vowel sound. The first one has short A, C-A-P. Can you figure out what that word is? Let me move this a little bit so that you can see better. There we go. And C says cap. Right. Those of you boys and girls that play softball or baseball, you wear a cap, don't you? But if I add silent E, or that bossy E, we're not going to hear silent E, so I'm going to put an X on him. He says, okay, you can't say short A anymore. I want you to say your long A sound. A, ape, cape. And I'm sure you guys know some superheroes that wear a cape, don't you? Superman, Batman, Supergirl, Robin, they all wore a cape. Let's look at the next word. It also has the K sound. And then there's the letter I. That was the very first vowel that we learned way back in August. Kit. Now, if I showed you the rest of our garage, you would see Mr. McGuire has a lot of tools and tool kits. So that's a kit, but we're going to change, it's going to change its sound because bossy E says, don't say that short sound anymore, say the long sound, kite. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. The sun's shining out there this morning. If it warms up, it would be a great day to maybe go out and fly a kite, get some fresh air. That would be lots of fun. All right, let's go to the next word. I see a capital R. What did we talk about? What does that tell us? It's probably somebody's name. So let's see if we can figure it out. R-O, R-A, that's our blend. Rob. It's somebody's name. But here comes our bossy E. And so instead of saying ah, it's going to say O. It's O sound. R-O-B. Not roby, because remember it's sh, silent. It's robe. All right? Now, I know you can read this one. We've had this in some of our other stories. P-E, what's my blend? Pet. But now, I'm going to change it to somebody's name. I have to use a capital letter. And it's going to, bossy E is going to say, no short sound, long sound. That's what that line over top of the vowel means. You want to say it's long sound, its name. So, eat, Pete. What are some of the stories we read at school? Pete the cat, right? Yep, that's one of my favorites. The favorite one of mine is the New Shoes. So that's my favorite Pete the cat book. All right, let's look at the last one. C-U-B. Cub. Bear cub, lion cub. They're all so cute and furry and cuddly. But when they grow up, they're not so much. All right, let's put a silent E down here. And let's change it to the U sound. Cube. All right, so when I have my iced tea, my favorite, I put some ice in it, an ice cube or cubes. I put extra in there to make it good and cold. All right, so what I'd like to do is I want to stand up and let's see if we can't use some of these words to make a sentence. So I'm going to stand up. All right, here we go. Oh, did you notice I put the date up there? I know we don't have our calendar, but we can say today is Wednesday, March 25th. So there's our date for today. But let's get back to our sentence. All right, ready? Here we go. Let's use some of our words. Remember that when we start a sentence, we always use a capital letter. So I'm going to say R-O-B. That's our friend Rob. All right, here's my sentence. And we know that a sentence is always over when at the end we see a period or a question mark. So let's go through each word. Rob, we know that. P-U-T. P-U, p-ut, put. Here's a sight word, O-N. On. Rob put on his, and then here's our word with the bossy E, robe. Rob put on his robe. When I got up early this morning, I put my robe on. It was still a little chilly out this morning, so I put that on before I came downstairs, and so I have a robe too, just like Rob does. All right, I'm going to show you this. Oh, excuse me. When I came to your house or put some things in your mailbox, I brought you your blend and word book. And what I thought I'd like for you to do is just start on a page. It could be at the very beginning. And these are all of our blends. La, le, la, li. All right, just go over and practice those. Pages 1 to 14, those are all just like we did. Remember when we would climb up the ladder and get to the top of the ladder? But on page 15 is a mix-up page. It's not all the same consonant. So try those. Try those because they're not all the same. And then you can go, there's some more where all the consonants are the same. But then there's there's a couple of pages that are mix-ups because they're not all the same consonant. So try those. Those are a little tricky because you have to do the different sounds for the different consonants. And then back in the back, on page 41 and 42, this is just what we did today. We said cap, and then we added the silent E. There's cape. All right, this is bit, and then silent E or bossy E changes the I to its long sound I, bite. All right, so try those words today. Also, you can look through your new little readers that I brought to you. Don't forget that at the beginning of every book, there's a square that has all of your new words in it. So practice those words first so that when you read the story, you'll recognize them and you'll know those words already. So I hope that this will help keep us together when we meet. I'm going to erase this tonight, and then I'll put up some new things for tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll learn about another disciple of Jesus's, and we may even get the globe out this week. I want to show you some different places. Remember, we learned right before all this happened, we learned about Mexico and our friends down there and how we like to eat Mexican food. And so we're going to learn about some other children from around the world too, not just phonics and numbers, but we'll do some fun things too. So I hope that you have a great day. I'm so glad to see the sun is out. It was a pretty big storm we had last night. Lots of thunder and lightning. I don't know if you heard it or if you just slept right on through it. I hope you had a good sleep and you slept right on through that. So just know that Jesus loves you, and so does Miss McGuire. And I will see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.